were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here to say I told you so.
She may have told the American people, she may have warned the American people, but she didn't do it compellingly enough to win.
That is the absolute point. And look, when I criticize, I'm criticizing myself. I own this. I'm part of the ticket. And somebody has to come up with a strategy.
Well, some cracks are beginning to form between Kamala Harris and her 2024 presidential running mate, Tim Walz, with the latter taking issue with something Harris said in public recently. Now, last week, Kamala Harris made her first public appearance in months, speaking at the Leading Women Defined Summit in California. This happened last Thursday. And she used this as an opportunity to look at American voters and say the following.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here to say I told you so.
I'm just gonna go to you because, no, I'm gonna say it. You were a crappy candidate. And you were part of a group of people who provided cover for a man who was falling apart mentally speaking, but decided to run anyway. Decided to stay in the race for a month after that disastrous debate against Donald Trump. And then when Biden, the most unpopular sitting president, called you up before the debate and told you, remember, kiddo, no daylight between us, do not differentiate yourself from me, you listened. So to sit there or stand there and give a speech about, I told you so, I told you so. These are the worst people, man. They really are, okay? No, we all knew what Donald Trump was. We all knew. And for all the Democratic ass kissers out there who provided cover for the bad behavior of that administration, they directed their ire toward people like us who kept warning the Democrats, you're gonna lose to Trump, you're gonna lose to Trump, you're pushing unpopular policies, you're gaslighting Americans on the issue of immigration. If you do that, that creates an opening for someone like Donald Trump to come in and do what he's doing in regard to mass deportations, do what he's doing in regard to literally deporting people before they even have a single day in front of a judge to adjudicate whether or not they're undocumented, to adjudicate whether or not they're actually gang members.
Yeah.
So for all, by the way, all the left-wing media folks who directed their ire toward me, and they're like, you see that? Anna's getting what she wants. No, I'm not getting what I wanted. I wanted Democrats to stop gaslighting American citizens and acknowledge what was going on in the country and provide their solutions for it.
Too much to ask for.
Too much to ask for. Anna's the problem. Big, strong, big, bad Anna. With all of her power, she's the one who swung the election, right? I can't stand these people. They're the worst. They're the worst.
Okay. Let alone me. I'm gonna start with a small thing and then get bigger. So first, I also can't stand her dramatic pauses that never lead to anything. Like, you're supposed to do the pause if you're really gonna deliver a point. Like,
I can't stand them.
Every politician is taught this. She's so bad at it. They're always anticlimactic. Okay, that's minor. Now you get to the laugh, right? So guys, if anyone can say "told you so," I would argue that it's us. And I would say even more specifically me, okay? So why? And then let's talk about the difference in the told you so's. Number one, a year and a half ago, we started a campaign, now even longer, I think, to get Biden out of the race. Why? Because we weirdly hate Biden? No, I mean, I'm not a fan of Biden's, but the reason to get him out of the race that early was because he was gonna lose to Trump. And what I kept saying on the show, and we did a petition and Young Turks viewers signed it, they should get all the credit. They were prescient enough all the way back then to say, guys, we're not gonna beat Donald Trump with a guy who can't talk. We at the Young Turks, our viewers have eyes and ears. And we can see that he's super old, can't finish his sentences, mumbles, repeats. He's a disaster. And his popularity is in the 30s. And for an incumbent in the 40s, you always lose. In the 30s, it's almost impossible to win. So these are just facts. He'd lost Latinos, he'd lost young people. It was nearly impossible to win. So we were the ones who cared the most about Democrats winning and Trump losing. So we're like, can you please try to win? And be like, how dare you? Winning is not important, even though we're saying democracy's on the line and the other side is Nazis. Winning is not nearly as important as protecting Democratic leadership. So if Joe Biden, the incompetent man with obvious dementia, if the Mad King says he's staying in the race and we're gonna lose, we all have to bow to the Mad King. You, Young Turks hosts and audience, and all of you, you guys defying the Mad King is a much bigger crime than Joe Biden's giant ego saying, I don't care if I have dementia, I want it to be me and only me. And I don't care if I lose to Trump, as long as it's me. That egomaniac fool and all of his advisors put us on the ship headed straight toward an iceberg. And we kept screaming, it's an iceberg straight ahead. And they would yell at us, oh, look at these guys warning about an iceberg. It's your fault, you created the iceberg. No, we didn't, you incompetent fools. Then what did we say? Once Biden finally dropped out and we were 100% right, we said do an open convention, please do an open convention. Obama and Pelosi didn't endorse Kamala Harris. They didn't endorse because they know she's a disaster. Biden did endorse because he knows she's a disaster and he wanted her to lose. So he could say his version of, I told you so, my career is so much more important. As we told you all these I told you so's, do you see me laughing? No, you know why? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who was right in terms of the consequences and the damage. It matters for the next election. Do not ever listen to these liars. Look at how cavalier she is. That laugh is unbearable. I mean, uproarious laughter. The whole country's in a disaster now. But my career was slightly better off now because I seem like I was more right than Trump. That's not funny, man. It's not funny. So real people are hurt, and it's so obvious that all the elites in the Democratic Party couldn't care less. The only thing they're obsessed with, just like Trump, is their own ego, their own careers, and their own benefit.
Bingo.
And they disgust me.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't be laughing. You lost to that guy. You lost to that guy.
So that,
what are you laughing about? I mean, it's just, by the way, my other very favorite thing that's happening right now, people are like, oh, Kamala Harris, she might run again. She might run in the next presidential election. And these like left-wing shows play that reaction I had to you mentioning how she might run for governor of California. And I had a very real, yes, knee-jerk reaction to it. I started screaming, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. Because she's a bad candidate.
She's awful.
She sounds like she's drunk.
So
okay,
I know, no, she's the
pretending?
greatest. He ran a flawless campaign. Biden is young.
Stop pretending. Stop pretending. The video she submitted to that little Catholic thing where the roast happened.
Al Smith dinner, yeah.
Yeah, the Al Smith dinner. That video wasn't funny at all, not even a little bit. Okay, she is not a talented politician. She's not a leader. Let's stop pretending like a pile of crap is gold, because it's not.
So look, at the end of the day, since I had no choice and I was positive that Trump didn't give a goddamn about our Constitution and is super stupid and would do the things that he did, I voted for Kamala Harris. Now, for the Kamala Harris fans, can you please come back to earth and reality?
They won't, they can't.
So
they're incapable of it.
If you think she ran a flawless campaign and lost to Donald Trump, how does that make sense? How can you sit there and go, oh yeah, Trump is the worst idiot in the world. Kamala Harris ran a perfect campaign, but somehow magically lost to him. And now there's these people who are drinking like Blue Anon Kool-Aid 24/7. Oh, I think she won. I think she secretly won. Now we got loons on it. Oh, should we raid the Capitol? Okay, so no, guys. And by the way, if you're listening to a host who's telling you that Kamala Harris was amazing and that she should run again, you should never trust that host. That host, in a best case scenario, has no earthly idea about politics. They saw that most obvious campaign of all time, saw her bungling it in 8,000 different ways, wrapping her arms around Liz and Dick Cheney, who were at 13% approval, bragging about how 90 corporate CEOs were on her side, and she's the great queen of corporate rule.
Crapping on young Democratic voters who wanted something from her, something in regard to Israel and what they're doing to Palestinians in Gaza. But what did she do? Shut them down, didn't listen to a damn thing they had to say, wouldn't even let a Democratic Palestinian surrogate give a pre-approved short speech at the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah.
Okay, she's garbage as a candidate, she's not a leader, and she deserved to lose.
And by the way, look, when she came out, picked Tim Walz, talked about price gouging, and said she was going to do something about housing, we said fantastic, because those are good policies. And then what did she do? She turned right around because her donors complained, and her stupid brother-in-law, who's a stupid lobbyist, came in and said, "Oh, you got to kiss the ass of corporations." She said, "No, price gouging. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Tim Walz, I'm putting him in a basement. He's not allowed to talk again. I won't let him do interviews." Okay, and houses. This is the #1 issue. I'm barely going to talk about it. Instead, I'm going to have all my surrogates go out and tell you how much corporations love me. So, by the way, if you're a progressive, it's one thing to vote for Kamala Harris as I did. Okay, and hold your nose and go, man, she was a terrible candidate. She's not gonna deliver on anything, but I can't have Trump terminate the Constitution. Okay, I'm right there with you. But if you're pretending to be a progressive and you're cheerleading for Kamala Harris, and you're cheerleading for the senator from MBNA, that's President Biden, he was known as a senator from a credit card company. And those corporate goons, don't tell me you're a progressive, spare it, okay? You can tell me but hey, Democrats, rah, corporatism, yay. Okay, you can do that, at least be honest about it. But there's nothing progressive about these people.
So Tim Walz came out and responded to what he saw in that speech with Kamala Harris. And I want to go to that video, let's take a look.
What does "I told you so" really mean here? I mean, people heard her message. They did not vote for her. She lost every battleground state. You yourself have criticized the Harris-Walz campaign for being too cautious. She may have told the American people, she may have warned the American people, but she didn't do it compellingly enough to win.
That is the absolute point. And look, when I criticize, I'm criticizing myself. I own this, I'm part of the ticket. And somebody has to come up with a strategy. I think this is exactly right. This is the thing. Look, Democrats, it was a good night in Wisconsin. I was over there, we saw that happen. Donald Trump's doing this. Just to be clear, nobody on the Democratic side is celebrating this. And those folks in the street are not celebrating that Donald Trump's making all these errors. I think what the vice president's saying is that was pretty self-evident that he was going to do that.
You know, the thing I really do appreciate about Tim Walz is the fact that he is willing to self-reflect. He is willing to do something that almost no politician is willing to do, take personal responsibility.
Yes, and he's honest and he's authentic. So give me more Tim Walz. And he got bills passed, progressive bills, populist bills, wonderful bills in Minnesota. That's why we were excited when she picked Tim Walz. We did like 8 different shirts on Tim Walz. We could barely get any excitement on Kamala Harris because she wasn't running on policies that mattered and would make a difference in your life. Tim Walz was. But unfortunately, him being honest, he said something that was very telling there. He says someone has to come up with a strategy.
No, Democrats don't like that. Democrats don't like strategy. They like to pay influencers to pretend like Democrats are perfect, but they don't like to listen to their base. They loathe their base. I mean, how many election cycles have they made that abundantly clear? They loathe their own voters. So they hire these like pubescent like influencers on TikTok to pretend as if the Democrats are perfect and they're totally kicking ass when they're not. They didn't offer anything in the last election. They gaslit Americans who were concerned about very serious issues within the country. And when you do that, you create a vacuum in which Republicans come in, Donald Trump comes in, and he's like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, so look guys, unfortunately it's pathetic that there isn't a single person in the Democratic Party who's come up with a strategy. I mean, that's the former VP candidate telling you there's no one with a strategy. So there's gonna be one soon. In a couple of weeks, I'm gonna announce something. And then when I do, a plan to take back the Democratic Party and win the White House, you know what everybody's gonna say? How dare you, who do you think you are? And I have the answer to that. Apparently the only person with a plan. So as you know, it's a super low bar, guys. And so I encourage you to come up with your own plan because these Democrats aren't gonna ride to the rescue. You gotta be your own cavalry. So the minute when we announce the plan, we'll literally be the only Democrats in the country that have a plan on how to take back the White House. And that is just super sad. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.